Hi and welcome to the tutorial for our macrame plant pod. This is what I'm going to be making today. Our plant pod kit comes in two different sizes. It comes with the 3mm bobbiny, or it comes with the 5mm bobbiny. The design is exactly the same for both, but obviously due to the size of the cord, the 5m will give you a larger pod. Okay, so I'm going to go through the design with you, but first I'm going to go through everything that you will need. So you will need a board to be working on to secure your work, and I'm going to use a bulldog clip. You'll need a hoop, which is going to be our hanging hoop. You will need one length of cord that is 2.5 meters, which is going to be our filling cord to begin with. And then you are going to need 23 lengths of cord for the actual pod design, and these need to be 1.5 meters length. Okay, so 23 1.5 meters length. What I'm using today is I'm using the 5mm bobbiny braided cord in terracotta. Okay, you will also need a pair of scissors, and if you have got the kit, you will also have a set of written instructions as well. You will also need another cord for the wrap knot at the end, which is 1 meter and 25 centimeters. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to start with our 2.5 meter cord. Okay, and what I'm going to do is let me show you, I'm going to attach that to my board with a couple of bulldog clips. Okay, there we go, that's my other one. I'm going to move the ring out of the way because I don't need that now. And then what I'm going to do is my 1.5 meter cords, which we've got 23 of, I'm going to fold them in half so the ends meet, and we've got a loop the other end. Okay, and then we are going to attach them with a lark's head knot. Okay, so the loop over the cord, pull the other two cords through and pull them tight so they're snug against the filler cord. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that with all 23 cords. Okay, so I'll do that. You can pause the video and do that as well, and I'll meet you when we're done. Okay, so we've attached all 23 cords to our filler cord with our lark's head knot, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to unclip these. That was just obviously to hold it in place whilst we were attaching them. And now you will need your wooden ring, or whichever ring you choose to use as your hanger. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we are going to bring this together . You've got these cords to be working with, a bit long at the moment, but we are going to put the cords through the wooden hoop. Okay. You have to sort of hold things tight. There we go. So they're going to go through the wooden hoop And now I'm going to attach my wooden hoop with my clip again, just to make sure it's all nice and secure. And then we're going to bring the 2 cords, there we go, through the hoop. Takes a bit of wiggling to get it all to lie flat. Okay, there we go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make the square knots that are going to be sort of like the hanging part before the actual pod. Okay, so we're going to make well, we'll make 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can make it longer if you want to, or you can make it shorter, but with the lengths that I've suggested, I'd probably just stick with 3 or 4. So these 2 cords are going to be your holding cords for the square knot, and then we're just going to make a normal square knot. So I've got my L loop. This is how I do it if you've been following, and pull those so it fits nice and snugly against the hoop. Now I'm going to make my P loop, and I've got to remember to go underneath here, and there we go. There we go. So we've attached it with 1 square knot. Okay. Going to make another square knot. The first 2 are okay, but then it gets a bit trickier the further down you get here. So let's make another one. Make sure you go right, you're going right underneath the right place. And then wiggle it till it comes through. Through that loop. Okay, so that's 3 square knots, and my last square knot right, this is where you have to be a bit careful, because you don't want to come under here. You want to make sure that you're going through there, that's it, through that loop, and there we go. So we've got our 4 square knots now. Okay, so at the moment we've got 4 square knots and we've got everything on our filler cord. What we're going to do now is I'm going to unclip that again for a minute, and we're going to turn our work. Okay, so I'm going to turn my work, so now I've got the reverse. Okay, and what you'll have to do is secure your work again to your board or wherever you're working. There we go. But then you need to make sure that all these are out lying flat. Okay, because we don't want to get them twisted. If we get them twisted, then our pod will go funny. You'll see what I mean. So we want to lie them all out flat. Okay, right, what we're going to do now is we are going to start making the main pod, okay? And we're going to do that just by making square knots and alternate square knots. Okay, so this is the back of my pod now, you can see that. So we've got our square knots that we've just made, and now what we're going to do is we're going to make another square knot underneath this row. Then we'll make 2, then we'll make 3, and so on. So this is how you do it. Okay, these first 2 cords, let's see, these first 2 cords, these are going to be the centre of our first square knot. Okay, so these are our holding cords for our first square knot. and we are going to take one from the left hand side and we're going to take one from the right hand side. These are going to be the working cords for our square knot, and I'm just going to make a regular square knot. So my L loop, go through there, pop it over. Okay, I always hold mine steady with my thumb and pull that snugly, and then the other half of the square knot through there, and there we go, pull that snugly. All right, so we've got one square knot now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be working around and down. So now I've got one square knot, I am going to put those cords from that square knot, I'm just going to put two over there. I'm going to use these two and I'm going to take the next two to make another square knot. Okay, so I used two from the previous square knot and I've taken two from the side. Okay, and I'm just going to make a square knot. Now the trick is as well just to make sure that you keep your cords flat and straight, okay, so they don't twist. So there's one square knot, and I'm going to put that out of the way because I've done that one. So there's my two cords from my previous square knot, and then I'm going to take one, and this is where you need to make sure that these are all laid out flat. One and then two. Okay, so what this is doing, this is joining these two lark's head knots. Okay, so we're making these alternate square knots, and you are going to repeat this all the way around. So each row you do will have more square knots. Okay, so there you go. So now we've, our first row we had one, now we've got two square knots. So now I'm going to make another row of square knots, and what I tend to do is I go from left to right and then I'll go back right to left, then left to right and onwards. Okay, that's just how I find it easier. So I'm going to use two cords from my previous square knot, and I'm going to take from the side, I'm going to take one, two. Okay, you have to keep moving your cords to make sure you're not getting in the way of yourself. All right, so now I've got four cords and I can make another square knot. Okay, so that's one square knot done, and I'll move those cords out the way. So now this one, I'm joining these two previous square knots. So I've got two cords from this square knot, and then I'm just taking the first one and the second one from that square knot. Okay. Pull it nice and snugly. Oh, look, make sure they're not crossed. There we go. And then my P loop. Okay. Then I'm just going to move that out of the way. And then I've got my two cords from this square knot, but now I'm back at the outer edge, so I'm going to take the first one, so one, I'm going to take the next one, two. Okay, so you can see now I'm joining these two lark's heads with an alternate square knot. Okay, there we go, and there's the other half of my square knot. Oops. See, line them down there so they're sitting nice and flat. And there we go. Okay, so I had 1 square knot, then I had 2, now I've got 3, and we're going to do that all the way down. Okay, we're going to keep increasing the number of square knots. So now I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 on this row, and so on. So I'm going to, let's just go through this one with you again. 2 cords from this previous square knot that we've just done, and then take the next 1, 2 cords to make our next knot. Okay, there we go, flatten that down. There we go. Okay, and then this one, it's going to be joining the 2 previous square knots. I tend just to lift them and move them out of the way. You don't have to do this flat on a table. You could always do it hanging if you wanted to. I personally just prefer to do it this way because I can make sure that the cords are all nice and flat, and then I can move them out of the way when I don't need them. And I just find it clearer in my mind to know that I can move those out the way. I've done those and I know where I'm going. Okay, so 2, and then the next 2. Okay, and so on. So you are going to continue that pattern going all the way down the pod until you have taken in all of the cords. Okay, so look, carry on, take the next 2, and then I'm going to go back this way and back and back and back. And once I've used all of my cords that were on my filler cord, then I'll show you how we'll put it all together. So you do that, pause the video if you need to, and I'll meet you when we're done. Okay, so what we have done now is we've gone all the way around and we have used all of our lark's head knots to make the square knots. Now what you can do here is you can do a few different ways. You can finish there, and I'll show you how we're going to finish, which is what I did on this one. Or if you wanted to and you've got enough cord, okay, you can carry on making some more square knots so that your pod will be a bit deeper. Okay, so that one I did, so I did that one, and then I did another 3 rows, okay, and this one, so there's the 2 lark's head knots that we've got there, and then I just did another 2 rows here. You don't have to, if you're doing those 2 extra there, just check how it feels when you gather them all together, okay, because you don't have to go all the way round if you do a few extra here, if that makes sense. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gather it all together, okay, because all we're going to do now to finish it off, you see, is gather that together. See, and that looks fine as it is, and we're going to make a wrap knot, okay, but if I wanted to, let me just show you, I could just add an extra few square knots, just to fill out the front of the pod. Okay, and again, it's entirely up to you. I've done one that side, so I'm going to do another one. Make sure I've got them all now. Make sure they're all straight. Okay, and I might just do one there and one there just to bring this down a bit. Okay, I mean, that's the beauty about this, is you don't have to stick religiously to the pattern. You can adapt it to suit what you like. Okay, but I'm just going to do that there, one that side. So then I'm going to just do another one that side. Okay, so when we gather them together with our wrap knot, we're going to need that extra 1.25 metre cord that we did earlier, that we cut earlier, I should say. There we go. And what we're going to do is, as I say, because it's a wrap knot, we are going to wrap these together. Okay, and that is going to then form our hanging bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather all these together. Now you might see, you see inside there, that you've got some that are just a bit loose. And what we'll do is, once we've done the wrapping, if you can see here, I just pull them one at a time, and that will just, you see how it's tightening those inside. But we'll do that after we've done the wrap knot. So I'm going to lie it down here, and I'm just going to secure it to my board there. Okay, I've got my other cord here. So I'm going to, make sure it's, there we go. So for the wrap knot, we're going to fold one end to make that loop, okay, and we only need a tail of probably about 15 centimetres or so. And then all we're going to do is we are going to wrap we're going to wrap, in fact I'm going to unclip it because it might be easier. I'm going to wrap it all the way round. Okay, and try and do it as neatly as you can. And again, how far you wrap it is entirely up to you. Making a bit of a noise with the hoop dangling everywhere. Okay, I think I'll probably just do one more. Okay, and then you find your loop that you had. There's my loop. And where you've been wrapping, just put that through the loop. Okay, you have to hold it all tightly together. And then this other little cord, pull that. And then what happens is that knot, there we go, gets secured by the wrapping that you've just done. Okay, so then what you do is you just, as I showed you, just pull these cords one at a time to make it look neater inside. There we go. See, it tightens it up, it makes it nice, and there you go, that's better. And you can play about with it and tighten it and mess about with it as much as you want to suit your needs. Then all we need to do is just trim off that cord that we pulled through, and then you just decide how much hanging cord you want. And let's see, let me just go here. I'm going to cut all the way across. There we go. And I'll still do a bit of tidying up, but there you have got your hanging pod. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it useful. If you did, click on the like button below. Subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with further tutorials, and see you again soon. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.